People-centric culture is where we put people first. That's what I talk about in my book, The Affinity Principle. It's really looking at the people and what they bring to the table, which is the center point of your company, really, in particularly people-facing businesses. The people-centric culture starts with great leadership, and that's a mindful leader, really conscious of what they're asking people to do and how they're encouraging people to do it. And in this case, really thinking about who they need to do the job and being very deliberate in that. And then if the leader's doing a really good job around those things, it leads to a great team experience because they're hiring good people who are well aligned with the company and the culture, and those people are succeeding and enjoying the work they're doing, and that leads to a great member or customer experience. So that's the affinity formula. And the byproduct of that is profit. I do get down in the trenches with the team, and I love it. When I get my hands dirty with the team doing things that they're doing or even demonstrating how to do something, I think that does create affinity. Really what I want to do, what I want to demonstrate to the team is that I'm happy to do whatever I'm asking them to do. And I have. Working through the fitness industry, I started out, cleaning floors, teaching classes, working behind reception. And then, I did sales and gym floor and, so on through the whole system. A lot of companies really struggle to define who they are and even who they're trying to market to. One of the things I advocate is that we need to niche. We need to position ourselves in a place where we're not competing with everybody, and focus on that and really be really good in that space. In the fitness industry, for example, I talk about the interested deconditioned being a huge opportunity. Over 60% of the population are interested in exercise but aren't exercising regularly enough to make a difference to their health. So in actual fact, if you could attract that niche, and it's not a small niche, over 60%, almost 2/3 of the market, if you could attract an additional 2/3 of the market to your business simply by positioning yourself appropriately and being able to take care of those people, suddenly you've got 80% of the market potential versus 20%. So niching doesn't mean making it a smaller subset, but it is knowing who you want to attract and how you're going to go about that. We've got problems in sales. We're not converting as many people as we'd like. We're not getting the number of leads through we'd like. We're having a high turnover of our membership consultants. And all these problems are endemic. And when I really look at it closely, I think there's one thing that would help almost all those situations, and I call it sales rhythms. When is somebody most likely to make a change? So decide to buy your product, and that product is membership, and that may be in a variety of different spaces, but the most likely time that somebody is going to buy your product is around or on their birthday or just after their birthday, beginning of the week, Monday, beginning of the month, beginning of the financial year. I don't think I mentioned that before, but beginning of the financial year, a lot of times people make some changes, and certainly the beginning of the year. So those are all major turning points. So if you can aim your promotional campaign around those turning points, you'll tend to get a lot more traction. And that's been proven again through behavioral science, through a lot of different studies, that this fresh start concept is very powerful and should be leveraged by marketers. So what we do these closeouts as an industry generally, we do closeouts. And so at the end of the month, we do this hard push where we drill deep into our database. So we've got people in our database, leads, and we hammer the phone. But for that MC, the end of the month becomes like their worst nightmare. Just look at the research in behavioral sciences. But what I know is that you'll make a lot more sales on that Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday because you booked the appointments than you would at the end of the month. So that's sort of the basic summary of my premise of a more rhythmic sales process rather than this cataclysmic high at the end of the month, which could be a lot higher if it was the beginning of the month even. So, and the behavioral science will back up that as a much better strategy and will literally multiply the outcome that you get. And with the blue ocean concept, it's essentially trying to differentiate yourself from the rest of the market. So they describe the red ocean as the one where the sharks are feeding. So everybody's sort of trying to get a piece of that that action. And a lot of times we group ourselves in that red ocean, not realizing there's this tremendous opportunity for us to maybe differentiate ourselves. If you can establish a USP that is different, either slightly or ideally very different from that of the rest of the people in your space, then that's a really powerful way to, again, niche yourself and create a blue ocean. So a place where hopefully no one else is fishing. But referrals are definitely a place we should be focusing our attention and energy, because they're much higher likelihood, a referred person is much higher likelihood to join than a non-referred person. So not only is it a really inexpensive lead, because you're really only doing hopefully a good job by the member in order for them to do it, you're not having to pay extra for it, but there's a real opportunity in that referral space, absolutely. I think we need to put a lot of effort into hiring, particularly for membership consultants. Regardless of what industry you're in, those membership consultants are really the representative of your brand. So they're the person that is putting forth the image of the brand. And if that person's a high character, high emotional intelligence, great attitude and great personality, they're going to reflect beautifully on your brand. So those are the four essentials I talk about in the affinity principle, about higher on attitude, character, emotional intelligence and personality, because they're the four things you can't change. They're the four things you can't teach. They're the four things that are that's pretty static when you're hiring somebody. You've got it or you don't. It's a hell of a lot easier to be yourself than to pretend to be someone else. And I don't think we realize that a lot of times. We go through life battling to be somebody that we think we should be or that people want us to be. Like, social is a huge sort of system to wrap yourself up in, that you can present this persona of perfection and polish and never getting anything wrong. And I really feel like when we are authentic, when we are ourselves, there's a lot less energy expended, a lot less stress, and a lot less ramifications in the long run, particularly with relationships. So think about this in a human relationship, like a couple, for example. If you're not authentic up front, if that person doesn't really know who you are and you act out or you act as someone else, you're ultimately going to revert to who you are, and ultimately that relationship's going to collapse. So, I use an example. The first health club that I ever had, it had gone bust 4 times in the same location. I built a great culture, the team was amazing, we did a great job, and 3 years later it was the most successful health club in the region, and it was going great, and we sold the club, and it closed 6 months later. And that's an example of the flywheel not running. That's an example of handing over a company that didn't have legs. And so that made me really sensitive thereafter to building that internal momentum, that cultural backbone, that it was hard to disassemble, even if some things changed or leadership changed or ownership changed. And that should be the ultimate goal, is to build a company that will stand the test of time. So we're all seeking financial results, but a lot of times we chase them through the balance sheet, and the balance sheet's a pretty hard way to do that. The problem with the balance sheet is simply that it's a retrospective look at what's going on in your company. Whereas when you look at EMPS and MPS, which is what Affinity OS measures, you're actually projecting out. You actually can look out as far as maybe 3 months as to what's likely to occur on your balance sheet. The truth is that if we want to be the best that we can be as a manager or a leader, and we want the organization that we lead or manage to be the best that it can be, we really need to be open to feedback, and we need to assimilate that feedback and respond to it. And if we can do that with our team members and with our customers, the financial results will come because we are being responsive. In today's business world, it's moving at such a pace that even standing still right now means you're going backwards, because things are just evolving so quickly. And it's really hard for us to stay abreast of that without having very, very powerful tools to literally keep our finger on the pulse on a daily basis. And so I just reiterate that whatever you do, make sure that you've got the data coming in that you need to keep your ship steered in the right direction. Sure, you want to get into those clubs and shake hands and chat with people and get those analog exchanges, but you really need to move into the digital world. And now with the advent of AI, you've got powerful ways to distill that feedback. So a feedback system like Affinity OS is really powerful because it is a distillation of all that information. And you can also look at it across sites. So you can look at best practices and see where some sites are flourishing or they have certain aspects that they're very good at. And you can use those as a space to focus other clubs or other facilities or other businesses around what they might do better. You know, when people feel that level of trust with you to have that conversation, you can quickly get to the quick of the matter or what's the challenge and address it. And so again, this whole thing of building trust, building authenticity, building integrity, the dividends from it are huge. You'll get so much value from having that level of trust with your team that you'll never go back to like trying to dodge bullets and say the right thing and placate people when you realize that the value of that authentic exchange it's invaluable actually.